Oh, hi, Maja. You were behind me. I didn't see you.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm really sorry I cannot be present, but yeah, I'll try to do my best through this online intervention. Thank you very much for inviting me to this beautiful and very important conference. And thank you, Tatiana, for a very nice introduction. So we are having a little bit of trouble with time, right? So I will just better that I just start. The idea about a multidisciplinary initiative and a participatory durational performance that came to light in 2020 when I was approached by the coordinators of the European City of Culture Piran 2025, titled The Wave of Change. Uh, they were one of the coordinators who were bidding to become, for their town to become the European City of Culture. So I was invited to propose a long-term artistic project with the main objective to develop and increase empathy through art by finding new perspectives on functional restoration of our ecological systems through the reflection of borders, freedom, solidarity, citizenship, and climate change. And as I came up with an idea of a platform called the Sea Station, that was a working title, I approached the Quo Artis Foundation. And together, as the leading partners of the project, we invited several science galleries and cultural as well as scientific centers from Venice, Treviso, and the Slovenian coast. We were also discussing other potential partners, of course, from within and outside of the Adriatic region. The sea station was proposed to be located in the Piran town bay, which you can see on the picture. It would serve as a space for exchange and collaboration between local people, artists, curators, scientific and cultural, as well as educational institutions. They would all take an active part of the co-contextualization of the platform content, as after its building, it would remain as a gift to the community, keeping the spirit of an open space. But let me first say a few words about the coastal town of Piran, where the initiative should take place. Piran is located in southwestern Slovenia on the Adriatic Sea, and it is one of the three major towns of Slovenian coastal region. The name of the town most probably originates from the Greek word pyros, which means fire, due to ancient lighthouses which were supposed to be located on the edge of the Gulf's marina. The town is furthermore located in Istria, which is the largest peninsula in the Adriatic Sea, which has historically been configured through different territorial and political conflicts that shaped its contemporary identity. It was subdued by Rome in 177 before counting, almost for 1,000 years, and then it no, it was first by Rome in 177, and it became part of Venetian Republic for centuries. At the second half of the 18th century, the peninsula came under the rule of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. After the World War I, then Italy forcibly seized the peninsula, but following its defeat in World War II, Yugoslavia occupied most of its territory. And after 1947, the ethnic composition at the whole peninsula, including the town of Piran, radically changed due to the exodus of Italians and their replacement by Slovenian settlers in the town of Piran. This was the consequence of decades of diplomatic wrangling and periodic political crisis, while in 1954, the peninsula's northwestern section was divided between Italy and Yugoslavia. And then at the early 1990s, The breakup of Yugoslavia made Istria become part of Croatia and Slovenia, when both states became independent nations, while Piran now belongs to Slovenia. So this complex territory, where the three countries that share a common past marked by borders, which have historically structured the geopolitical framework and defined the Istria's inhabitants' social and cultural identities, was my inspiration for an idea of a sea station as a totally utopian territory. It would be only approachable by sea, and it would be located at the maritime boundaries of Slovenia, Italy, and Croatia. And as a neutral ground, its objective would be for population to reflect on questions such as, for example, how humans will relate and reconnect in the refugee crisis and the post-pandemic era, because one of the principal problems highlighted by the coronavirus situation when I was approached to compose this project was the way humans relate to each other and how consequently the whole human collective relates to nature. So, as this specific local and regional context based on its historical roots and geopolitical motivation of inhabitants became a key feature for my concept, I realized that such location would not only need some kind of a social sculpture to connect all participants interdisciplinarily, but that I should also spend some time in the region myself. It was therefore a logical decision that, as an initiator of the sea station, when it would become functional, I would become its first resident as well as its keeper for just for the first few years, while organizing and facilitating gatherings. The station would offer open days events so that I could start a dialogue with local people upon their visits. When the invited guests would come to the station, we would conduct workshops, informal gatherings, cookings, sharing thoughts and experiences in order to facilitate opportunities for interconnecting different generations, communities, genders, and so on. All guests would be welcomed to invite and bring also their non-human companions while visiting the station. And then furthermore, each would be invited to bring seeds connected to them with a personal story that they would share with other guests. Then the seeds would be planted in a controlled environment of a hybrid so-called no-border garden, which would stay at the platform as a reminder of how resilient a life can be if only we give it a chance. And as watering is every garden's main source of survival, and since the platform is located on the sea, I thought a sea station should be formally resembling a water molecule. Which brings me to presenting the platform's structure and facilities. Level 0 would serve as a communication desk, including communications equipment for early detection of extreme weather phenomena. This level would also serve as a drop-in center as well as a lookout desk. At the Hubs 1, the housing for me and artist in residency guests would include rooms with a shared kitchen, bathroom, and workspace. Hub 2 would be equipped for other human and non-human guests and for public events, including a small conference room. Hub 3 would serve as a laboratory for researching the effects of climate change on marine ecosystems, along with the No Border Garden, where seeds of all the guests would be planted. And this hub would be connected with the Hub 4, and the latter would be located underwater as a pressurized, transparent deck for scientists to undertake daily missions. It would be also approachable for organized guided tours during open days. All hubs would be self-sufficient in energy, water needs, and food, housing solar panels and water desalinators, while each hub's roof would consists of an outdoor hydroponic organic food garden. The local community involvement, as I already said, with individuals as well as the social movements would be crucial. They would be invited to participate in programs such as the storytelling workshops, for example, where older inhabitants of the region would be narrating stories and memories from the past to the youngsters. Such practice would aim to offer highly pragmatic cognitive approach towards raising consciousness in common agreement with territories and voices and needs. Secondly, I would invite artists in residence to find their inspiration not only in the physical experience of living inside the platform, but also in the collaborations with the local people, scientists, and educational institutions. I believe such encounters would enrich each other's creative possibilities with transversal knowledge, generating a common and transnational space. Thirdly, inviting scientists would be an important focus since these professionals usually face multiple barriers when collaborating in transdisciplinary projects due to overall difficulty to meet a common language. Their interaction with local people and professionals from different fields would be encouraged in order to develop creative tools to help spreading scientific contents that could reach a wide non-specialized audience, and establishing such dialogue would also be crucial and especially important for the later years when a big part of the platform would remain a marine research facility. And last but not least, the cultural and educational institutions would be welcome to join for possible bridging of distance between the academic discourses and the public. With guests such as the non-profit institution members, politicians, sociologists, experts on borders, and lawyers, we would be paying a special attention on our discussions on solving problems about seeking asylums regarding refugees, because it's a three-border territory. Based on these conversations, the Sea Station would organize yearly conferences on themes such as marine biodiversity, globalization and climate change, migration politics of the three regions, etc. And all these events would be serving as inputs to communicate through podcasts and vlogs, as I would execute an online performative writing with photo documentation as a diary throughout my whole experience. The material would at some point also become a book about the station as an archive for the future. But most of all, my few-year accommodation there would involve into the transformation of the platform for after the end of the EU Capital Culture Program. Serving as a research marine center, it would not only remain to exist as a reminder of unity between the three nations, but would facilitate the much needed investment into the field of science, integrated to the consciousness of the local community, the municipality, and the local politics. And the wider politics, reminded us, among other, that the food and medicine of the future will all come from the ocean. So, I believe this proposal with its dialogue space dimension based on the local cultural social identities initiated by art and science could be a point of departure to serve many other contexts globally. And let me conclude with the quote of a dear friend, Tatiana Korochkina, quote, "There are borders, but plants, animals, and people are breaking the rules all the time," unquote. And this thought reflects in my vision of sea stations located around the world, as they might perhaps make us realize that much more than borders, oceans and seas have a major role in the fragile equilibrium of our planet. Thank you very much. I hope you heard me. I don't hear anyone. Okay.
Do we have any questions for Maja before she disappears? Yes, Josep Lluís, can I have the mic?
Thank you very much. Very interesting. Just curiosity, this could be anchored at the sea floor, or how you envision it? Because this will not be drifting freely, no? This is supposed to be anchored. You have some anchoring system in mind that with minimum impact? Yeah, sorry, thank you.
It would be a floating object, not freely floating, but I know, unfortunately, this is really, for now, it stayed at a totally, as a totally utopian idea, which was initiated by these leaders of the wave of change. But I very much hope that at some point it could come into realization. And at that point, of course, I would have to talk and collaborate very closely, not just with the local environment, but also with the architects and engineers and scientists and so on, so that we would come to the conclusion of which kind of the system that would be the most sustainable would actually be, but not at this moment. I don't have a system in mind.
Thank you very much.